All right, thanks for tuning in to Thoroughbred Horse Racing Action. Handicapping style, of course. The only horses that are actually in action are the ones on the bottom of the screen. I'm Greg DePalma, joined by Jon Hardoon, of course, from the Sheets. John, good to talk to you again.
Good afternoon, Greg. How are you?
I'm doing good. Finally, off the Schneid after getting a winning exacta in the Belmont Stakes.
All righty.
We kind of broke down that race pretty perfectly, right?
I would say
I think we
did
should
pretty
pat
good.
ourselves on the back for that one.
Yep, I agree.
All in all, I think we did really well in the Triple Crown because have they officially knocked out Medina from the Kentucky Derby yet?
Medina Spirit,
Medina
no.
Spirit, no. All right. As soon as they do that, then I'll be able to toot my horn that I picked the winner.
Okay.
In the meanwhile, let's talk about the races we're going to handicap today. We got race 9 from Belmont and race 9 from Santa Anita. And so we'll break down those two horse races in just a minute. By the way, Mark Lawrence will be back from playbooksports.com next week. So he's been out the last couple of weeks. He has his yearly football publication that comes out. So he's been working double duty, and he'll be ready to join us again next week on this show. John, last week we got ourselves a viewer that actually made a comment that I wanted to share for our show today. Vincent Flauto, I think that's his name, Flauto, Vincent Flauto, said, and he's referring to me. Remember, I told you, anybody that has anything for me, it's usually negative. You should shut up. You clearly don't know how much. Excuse me. You clearly don't know much about horse racing. Let John talk. He actually know what he is talking about. You clearly frustrated the guy. Jeez.
You don't frustrate me at all. Well, that's not true. Vincent, Uncle Vincent, thank you for sending the email.
Hey,
there wasn't my uncle.
Just keep watching. That's all. That's all. Because look, you are watching for John anyway. But we've been doing this for a long time. How long have we been doing this together, John?
A lot of years.
You were mentioning to me off the air because Mark's been away for a couple of weeks and you weren't sure if he was coming back, and you said, we've been doing this for so long, we've had so many third-party people join us, but through it all, it's just me and you.
That's it. Me and you make it through thick and thin.
Maybe we just get rid of people. Maybe that's it. Must be us.
That's all.
All right. A little bit later on in the show, we are going to demonstrate for you, not only on this show, but in future shows. We said that we would do this, and that is we're going to take a look at some of the sheets. Sometimes we interact and, here's something you should look at on the sheets, and this is why. So I'll let you know exactly what that will look like as we're talking about it when it either comes up, or if we have time at the end of the show, we'll just take a look at some of the things I mentioned, and this will help you guys out to find out more about how to study the sheets, because they're not very simple. It's a long process. John, how do people find out more about what they have to do in order to study the sheets?
They can go to the website, thesheets.com, either that or Ragozin, Ragozin Sheets, and there's a introduction packet online there, and you can read all about it.
Let's get started with race number 9 at Belmont. That will go off at about 5:12 Eastern. So that race is this race is going to be on the inner turf. When I went over this, I just noticed that there were a lot of horses in this field that don't race on turf.
Most of them are entered for main track only, which means they entered hoping that it rains and the race comes off the turf. And then this way they'll get to run.
Okay.
So take a horse like Yodelieu is entered for main track only. I think Secret Rules is entered for main track only.
Oh, does it have it on here? Is that MTO?
Yeah, MTO means main track only.
Okay. So that means and what's the forecast like right now?
It's supposed to be good, but again, our selections are based on the fact that they're going to run on the turf. If it happens to rain and it was unexpected and the rain comes off the grass, you could just hit delete when you're listening to us because you don't want to listen.
All right.
Off the turf only.
Okay. This is a 6 furlong race. And matter of fact, no stakes races this weekend for us, but that's okay. We said that even though sometimes there won't be stakes races, we'll still be here most of the time. The one is Guildsman, John, and Guildsman coming off of 14 at Churchill. Bad performance in that race, so you can throw that out. I don't really see a good performance in this for this horse actually since his last win in September.
Well, the race 2 starts back is okay. He ran an 11 on a soft turf. Then he bounced last time out. And if you look at the sheet, the N after the number, after the Y means he was off of Lasix that day, and he's back on Lasix tomorrow. So, the 11 that he ran 2 starts back, he was on Lasix. If he goes back on Lasix tomorrow, which he's doing, I would expect a forward move. The question is that he may not be good enough even with a forward move. Like you said, he's only got one number in the last 2 years that actually gives him a chance to win this race. So, I mean, he gets Jose Ortiz, which is a plus. He has the advantage of breaking from the inside, which is a plus. But that being said, at 9-2, he's no bargain.
Okay, so again, we're going to take a look at, because I'm showing the sheets right now. Tell me what you were just referencing there. Is that the G you were talking about?
No, on the right-hand side, you see an equal sign, then a 14 and a plus. So that's
Correct.
a turf race, 14 and a quarter.
Yep.
The Y means he was on the rail, and the N means he was off of Lasix that day.
Okay.
Now, if you drop down to the number below, it has an LAW, which means he was back on Lasix that day.
Okay. Got it. All right. Very interesting. All right. Let's
Every day.
out of there and talked about the 2 because the 2 is Morning Breeze. This is one of those MTO horses.
Yeah,
his best race was a 9 on grass and an 8 on dirt.
He's not running unless the race comes off the turf.
Oh, so we don't even want to talk about those horses.
Right.
Okay. Ghoul is number 3, a 6-1 shot. Now, this is not bad. Ghoul for 6-1 with Rosario. You're talking about a horse that is pretty consistent between 9 and 12. That's not bad for this race.
No, but he is getting older, and his 9s are not as frequent as they used to be. Now they're coming. He ran one on the 1st of this year in January and hasn't run back to that 9, and it's been 6 months. You would have liked to see the 9 somewhere, but it's not there. But that being said, at 6-1, he's a fair price, and if you want to include him, you certainly can.
Okay, let's talk about the 4 then, and that is can't talk about the 4. It's an MTO horse.
Correct.
And by the way, the MTO horse that was the horse I noticed with the 4 and the 6 on the sheets, and it's like, okay, well, what's this horse doing in this? I thought the odds were going to be incredible, but we know why.
Right.
So.
If the race comes off the turf, anybody listening, you can play this horse because no one is close to his force.
Yep. All right. The 5 is Battle Station, a 7-2 shot, coming off an 11 at Belmont and May, and then before that a 9. So that's not bad. He won his last race. What about Battle Station?
He's another horse that has a chance. You see, the problem with this race is that you're going to have a group of horses. They're all going to be within a point or 2 of each other. And what you want to probably do is find the value and bet the longer price out of the contenders. Okay. This is one of the contenders, but he's 7-2. He's going to be bet. You don't need him at 7-2. I mean, you could use him if you're betting someone long, but you're not going to key off it.
Okay, let's go to the 8. That is 2nd of July. Since the 7 is an MTO horse.
And so
2nd of July is a 6-1 shot coming off of 26.
Yeah, well, the interesting thing about this horse is he hasn't been out since he was 2 years old. He's never been on Lasix. The 12 that he ran as a 2-year-old is a very good number.
Yeah.
For a 2-year-old. The problem is, where has he been? He comes back to the races without Lasix today, so that's somewhat of a concern. Why wouldn't they put him on Lasix? I don't think there's any value in using this horse, to be honest with you. I think you have better choices.
Yeah, the good thing about the horse is before the 26, the first 2 races was 19 then to 12, as you mentioned, both wins, and winning a grade 3 race in his second start is pretty impressive.
Yeah, he did that big jump up too, and he did a good job.
Okay, now comes Ragtime Blues, a 15-1 shot. This is with Castellano on board. Last race. Now, this is a horse, though, that has never raced on the turf, though.
That's the problem. The horse has never run on the grass, so how do we know what he's going to do?
Yeah,
You
he's
know, he
got
has some.
10s, 11s, that's 13s. That's about it.
Yeah.
All right, the 10 is Quarky, a 4-1 shot, who's 7 out of 8 at Belmont in the money with 1 win. But again, 4-1's a pretty low number, coming off a 12 last time out. That was the race in May.
Well, the interesting thing about this horse is the barn switch. He was claimed by a trainer that wins a lot of races in the Midwest. He just started running horses in New York. You know, he's got that 110, 2 starts back. He has a 10 last year. But again, like you said, the problem is he's 4-1.
Yeah.
He's no real value.
All right, now the 11 is a 10-1 shot, Holiday Stone. Now here, even if you just compare the 11 with the 10 went 12-10 sheet lines last 2. The 11 at 10-1, Holiday Stone went 12-10, the same thing at 10-1.
Yeah, this is my selection in the race strictly because of the price. He's 10-1. He has a 10 2 starts back. You know, the only problem with him is he's now a 7-year-old. So the older you get, the harder it is to do things that you used to do as a younger horse. But that being said, you know, I mean, at 10-1, I'll take my chances. Lascano's riding out of his mind. He's really riding terrific. You know, I like this horse here, and I think that this is a pretty good play if you really get 10-1.
Okay, I'm going to throw right now on the screen, right there, taking a look at the sheets for Quarky. Right next to the 12, his last start, you got the what do you call it? The sign of the and KB. What does that mean?
That he was claimed. The amber sign means he was claimed. He was purchased out of that race, and KB is the trainer's initials of who claimed him, Carl Broberg.
Oh, okay. So
when you
is
buy
that really important?
When you buy the sheet, you get a crib sheet, you know, a cheat sheet that tells you what all the symbols and everything stands for.
Yes, that's also important.
Right.
Okay, next, let's check out the 12 Duress, a 3-1 shot. Now, this is the horse is the favorite, probably for a good reason. Not just because if you take a look at it, I mean, 6 out of 9, first and second, first, second, last 3. Sheets 12, 11, 8, 11, 12. Compared to the other horses in this field, this might be the best horse.
Well, I don't like this horse. At 3-1, you got to be out of your mind to bet this horse.
That's
I
the
mean,
thing.
he hasn't been out since last year. He's got 1-8 last year. If you cover that 8, his 11s and 12s are like the other horses we've seen. The only difference is that this horse is going to be the favorite. Why would you bet this horse as a favorite? I mean, can he win? Of course he could win, but you have no edge in playing this horse at a short price. None.
All right. You're going to go with the 11, Holiday Stone.
Yes, that will be my top selection.
Okay. And the 2 horses that I'm going to go ahead and put some action.
By the way, I'm recommending a win and placement on the horse. Don't try to bet exactas or get cute.
Okay. Yeah, the 2 horses that I like are going to be the 8, 2nd of July, and the 3 Ghoul. Both horses are 6-1. All right.
Good.
Let's go to race 9 over at Santa Anita. Let me go ahead and change the sheets here. Okay. This is a mile race. This will go off about close to 8:30 Eastern time. Dr. Troutman, a 6-1 shot, coming off back-to-back 12s. And look, the horse has been in the money over the last 5 races. The back-to-back 12s is actually the best that this horse is, I think, probably, well, at least in a while, has run in consecutive races.
Yeah, but at the age of 7, those 2 12s may be, you know, an effort, and the horse may react off of them. He's okay. He's fine. He fits, but I think you have a better option. There are horses in this race that have run single digits already, and this is not one of them.
Okay, next up is Colossae, a 3-1 shot, one of the favorites. And Colossae, really, you got to like the sheet line here over the last 3 races. 12, 9, 7, won the last race. Again, unfortunately, 3-1.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's a 6-year-old that ran a 7 less than 2 weeks ago.
Oh, yeah.
Chances are he's got to react off of that race. I mean, you know, can he put them together? Sure, but very unlikely.
Okay, next up is Contagion, a 5-2 shot, who also has a very nice sheet line over the last 5. That's back-to-back 8s, Before that, back-to-back 10s and a 15. And even last year, the last race was a 17. So this horse just keeps improving, but 5-2.
Yeah, and he's gotten really good since Peter Miller took over the training. Look for Peter Miller, a 10, an 8, and an 8. You know, this horse is very strong here. The problem with him is the price. He's going to be a short price, but he could win, and he's the most likely winner in the race if I had to pick a horse.
Okay. Let's go to the 4, and that is Platinum Equity, a long shot that we shouldn't pay attention to, or do you like the fact that the horse has a couple of 9s?
Well, I don't like a horse coming off of a long layoff, and a horse that last year at the end of the year ran 2 races and took 4 months off and then took another 7 months off. So that's negative to me.
The 5 is a 12-1 shot, Cause I Did It My Way. And this horse is coming off a 12 and a 10 over the last 2 starts, which is not entirely terrible. The 10 was in March. That was a win, but that's the best the horse has ever done.
Well, this horse is a concern to me. First of all, I like the 12-1. And the whole question is if the 2 inside horses, Colossal and Contagion, are going to bounce off of those 2 races, well, somebody's got to make a forward move. And this horse has a 10-2 starts back. You know, he has a 13 and 12 towards the end of last year. If you look at this horse's line, this year the only bad race was a grass race.
Yeah.
Throw that out, and you see 14-10. The 12 was with no time off, and now he's been freshened up, and he was claimed out of his last race for 20,000, and they think enough to run him here. So for me, that's very strong. You know, I think this horse has a real shot in here to upset at a big price. Again, I think the 3's the horse to beat, but I think the 5 may be the right horse to play at the price.
All right, sounds good to me, because that's the thing that you have to, when you're, and especially, and I'm just going to quickly show everybody what I'm talking about. So for the 5 here, because I did it my way, try not to get, see, we have the 12 and the 10, and then you see the 23. You definitely have to, I think sometimes, even though you know it was on grass, sometimes mentally you just put the 23 in there. And it's like, you know, that has to be completely shut out. Just get that 23 out of the way.
It's apples and oranges. It means absolutely nothing.
Yep.
It's like, you know, I don't know, if you're betting teams that aren't good on natural turf and then they're on the grass, you know, it's the same thing. It's a different surface. It means nothing.
Yep. All right. Next up is the 6, Gray Magician, a 10-1 shot. Now, this horse was really good a couple of years ago. Even had that 4.
A couple of years ago, we were good too. I mean, you know, this horse, forget it. He's 5 years old. Off the 12, he bounced to a 19. Yeah. I don't like this horse.
Yeah, that 19 really did it.
No, the races 2 years ago really did it. That's what really.
Yeah, that's true. And he's 0 for 6 at Santa Anita anyway.
Yeah.
The 7 is an 8-1 shot. It's That Time. Now, this horse has got 2 9s back-to-back if you disregard the turf race. And both races are a 2nd and a 1st, and the 8-1 number.
You want the bad news?
Yes, unfortunately, I need to know the bad news, yes.
The bad news is those 2 9s were run for trainer Doug O'Neill, who's 1,000 times better than this guy. That claimed this fellow, Sergio Morfin, claimed the horse last time out from Doug O'Neill. So, you know, that's not a plus. He's not going to move forward. He's going to move backwards. Don't knock yourself out.
So is that something that you actually, I'm assuming you do, right? Somebody's got the information of trainer changes statistics.
Well, of course.
Yeah.
You know, you can look it up in the front of your racing form. They'll give you stats on every trainer, and usually they'll tell you that the horse's, the trainer's stats on the program or in the form wherever. And if you know the game and you play it like I do 24/7, 365 days a year, I can tell you every trainer and who's good and who's not. And this guy is nowhere near, he can't shine Doug O'Neill's shoes. So the 2 9s were both for Doug O'Neill. Today it's not Doug O'Neill. Right. So keep that in mind.
All right, now this is the horse that I actually have an interest in. 10-1 shot, California Street. Talking about a horse that last 5 races between 11 and 8. And I had that 15 was the bad one, but came back from the 15 to the 11. So, I'm thinking at 10 to 1. This isn't, I don't like the 1 for 12 at Santa Anita. I'll tell you that much. Or 2 to 17 lifetime.
I don't like the fact that he's a 7-year-old that ran an 11. Listen, majority of this horse's career, he's been sprinting. Last year, they tried to run him long 3 races. He actually ran okay. They sent him long last time when he ran the 11, which was okay. But I would treat this as an effort, and he'll probably react. But listen, if he's 10 to 1, by default, there's only so many horses you're going to be left to use, and this could be one of them.
Yeah, because the other thing I noticed was, you mentioned the distance. He's 3 out of 4 in the money at this distance. He's only 6 out of 17 in the money lifetime.
Okay.
So that tells me that when he's at this distance, he's at his best.
The only problem is you don't know who he ran against.
True. Yes. He did have a 6 a couple of years ago.
Yeah, okay.
All right. The 9 is Kono. Kono has never raced on a dirt track. He's 0 for 16 on turf, so that's a good thing. Make the switch, baby.
Yeah, they waited till he's 6 years old to switch.
Well, how long? Actually, he's got some. It's a few years ago. The last time he raced on a dirt track. What was it like? Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Kono. Yeah. What did he do back then?
Oh, it wasn't a dirt track. It was a poly track with the diamond. So he's never actually been on dirt. So there you go.
Okay.
The interesting thing is these are the connections of Rumbauer. Same owner, same trainer. But Rumbauer didn't win the Belmont, so
Rumbauer.
Just teaching you, just filling you in on some tidbits there.
And House Limit at 12 to 1 shot doesn't look like this horse has much house.
No house, no limit.
All right, so you like what? You say that the 3 is the favorite.
Yeah, I think the 3 is the most likely winner, but I think the 5 is the right bet if you get anywhere near 12 to 1.
The 3 and the 5, and I'll probably just throw in that 8 to see if I can make some money along with the 3 and the 5 as well. All right, John, appreciate it as always. Just a quick look so we could tell everybody what's next week, hopefully, with stakes races. There's only one. That's a grade 3 San Juan Capistrano at Santa Anita, so I'm not sure we'll be able to. What's that?
I don't like that. That race I think is 1 3/4 miles.
Well, that's one of those long ones.
Yeah, it's one of those marathon races that probably won't have a lot of horses in it.
Okay.
And numbers really don't matter much. So if we don't do that race, I'm sure we'll do 2 other races.
And after that, though, things get really,
you got Saratoga and Delmar starting.
And the Mother Goose is in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then you have 3 grade 2 races, including the Stephen Foster at Churchill. And then after that, you got some really good races coming, including the grade 2 Suburban at Belmont. Yeah. So some really good racing ahead of us. John, appreciate it as always, and we'll talk to you again next week.
Stay safe and be well, my friend.